Hey, I'm sitting here in the kitchen reading a book, and it's called The Science of Getting Rich, and it's from Wallace D. Wattles. It was written a long time ago. Anyways, I want to read you this. He says, "There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought." It says man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon the formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. Now that is really powerful. What he's saying is that we have the ability to think things into existence, but it don't happen by magic. Okay? It don't happen by magic. You think about it, forming things in your mind, creating it in your mind first, and then creating it physically is the same thing. And how that works is, take the light bulb for existence. Where did the light bulb come from? It came from a thought. Somebody had to think of a light bulb. Now, was it Edison or was there somebody before him? I don't know. But I know that the light bulb came from somebody's thought. Somebody thought of a way to make light and they made it work. Same thing with a typewriter. Somebody thought of a typewriter and then they created it. Now, they didn't create it overnight. They probably went through a lot of trials and errors, just like Edison did with the light bulb. And, refrigerators, ovens, stoves, you name it. The type of shirts we wear, everything is created right here in a thought, okay? And, if you're struggling in your network marketing business, then how are you going to fix it? Well, you're going to fix it first with a thought. I like to be grateful first thing in the morning. I like to be thankful for everything I have. And think about this, even if you have very little or you have a lot, okay? If you're not grateful for what you have, why would the universe or God or anybody give you any more? Why would they give you more if you're not grateful for what you already have? So that's the first step. You got to be grateful in what you have and just be thankful and then go from there. The next thing is you have to know what you want and you got to think about it. And what do I want? Let's see. I want good health. Now, how am I going to get good health? There's got to be a procedure or method I got to do to have good health. And one is I got to look at the food I'm eating and make sure I'm making good choices and make sure I'm getting good choices on the food I buy. And the second thing is, am I getting all the nutrition out of the foods that I'm buying that I should be? And then you deal with it. You deal with buying good food, better food, and you deal with moderation in eating the food. And then you find out what supplements that you need that you're not getting from your food. And then you go ahead and buy the supplements. Just like I buy the stem cell research and the GLP Extreme and the Get Juiced. I buy those because I think I need those in my life because I'm not getting it from my food. Okay? So you create a thought and you say, okay, I want to do good in this business and I want to attract people like me to work in this business. Well, you got to think of it first, and then you got to come up with, how am I going to attract people to my business? Am I going to do it through social media like Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest with images or a blog? Or am I going to do a video and talk to people that way, and get them interested, because the bottom line is people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I know people that actually joined businesses that didn't even care about the products. They just wanted to be part of a community, and they liked the person who they were talking to. They got to know them and they liked them and they joined them. And then they learned to love the products as time went on. So you got to be likable, okay? But it all starts with the way you think, He says here that you create something out of nothing. And that's true. That's exactly what we're doing. You know, when you create a big downline in your mind first, and you believe, you know, that that's going to happen, it's going to happen. But you got to work towards it. You got to be consistent in what you're doing and be persistent not to fail. You got to do every day, you've got to do something to build your business. Okay? If you're going to attract people to yourself, then you got to put yourself out there. You got to say, here I am, this is what I'm doing. I would like you to join me because I think together we could work together and make something special. Okay? So creating something from nothing all starts with a plan. You got to come up with the thought first, and then you elaborate on that thought, and and you go from there. You build your business. Even emailing, building a list and emailing people. But there you got to have an autoresponder. You got to write emails, and you got to send them out consistently. You can't just do it for 7 days or 7 months. You got to do it day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. It can't stop. Just think of all the businesses around here. Grocery stores, they have to be open every day. They have to have people working every day, or they're not going to sell any groceries. They can't just, go out and try for a week, to make money and pay off their debts and then close the next week because they're discouraged. They got to go through the process just like everybody else. And that's what we're doing, And here's, from the Science of Getting Rich, and also from the book Think and Grow Rich, you're going to find out that first it's a thought, okay? You get the thought. What do you want? Where do you want this to end? And then you got to picture it in your mind. Picture yourself, say, you can start huge if you want to, but I recommend starting well. I'm going to sign up 5 people. I'm going to get 5 people in the next month or 2. They're going to join my business. And then, so you got the thought, okay? And then you got the visual. You picture a picture of your downline with 5 people in it. And then you got to really feel that you got what you wanted, that you got those 5 people in your business. And I like to explain it like this. Like, when you met your spouse or your partner, what kind of feeling did you have? How did they make you feel? Or when you got your first new car, how did you feel? That feeling that you're just so excited and you're so grateful and you're so happy. That's how you got to feel. So you got to think it, you got to see it, but then you got to feel it. You got to feel as though it's already done, okay? And that's just the way all this works. The whole world works this way. Everything we have in our lives came from somebody's thought. It just didn't appear out of thin air either. They didn't think it and then it appeared, The only person I know that could ever do that was Jesus. We can't do that. We have to take baby steps. We got to think it, see it, feel it, and then work towards it. I think we have a lot of good things going here, and I think we need to continue building, and not building just in a downline, but building ourselves. Understanding more how this universe works. The scientists call the infinite knowledge the Akashic network, where knowledge is to infinity, and people, scientists, and people that do great things just tap into that knowledge through a thought. They tap into that knowledge and then they create it. But like I say, it's not magical. They just start from the beginning. Edison, he failed 1,000 times trying to make a light bulb, maybe more. But he eventually got the light bulb working, and we have lights today, all because he didn't quit. And there's many other stories like that. So I don't want to keep you long. I just want to say, get it in your mind that you can do this. Get it in your mind that you won't fail. Get it in your mind that you're going to go and go and go until you accomplish what you started out to do. Don't let it get you down. Don't get discouraged. That's why you need a brain trust. That's why you need people that encourage you, that lift you up when you're down, that try to help make you happy when you're sad. You got to have a brain trust. You know, I think that's why a lot of people go to church or go to their synagogues or whatever. They need other people to help them rise, to help them lift them up because of the struggles we have in life. You got to have people behind you. You got to have people working with you, and you need that. So I encourage you to, you know, join with me, or, you know, if you have somebody else you like, you want to join with them. But I would love to see people join me, and we can work together and encourage one another and build this thing and go from there. So with that, I just want to say I love you guys, and always forward, never stopping or going backwards, or just going straight ahead. So with that, please like, share, and subscribe my videos. And with that, let's say later.